Great. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from whichever time zone you are joining in from. Thanks a lot for showing up today for the Next Gen Banking webinar. I hope you all are having a fantastic day till now. Today, we'll kickstart with an exciting topic, which is personalized banking experience with Gen AI. We are really excited to have you all here. Let me begin by introducing myself and the company AI Core Spot to you. My name is Nitin Naveen. I'm Vice President of Innovation Strategy at AI Core Spot. With over a couple of decades of experience in different consulting firms dealing with emerging technologies, I feel fortunate to consistently engage with numerous global leaders, stakeholders, and their incredible problem solving and innovative ideas. Joining me today are a few of my colleagues, Arvind, Archana, and Naveen, who will add some energy to this event. So big applause to them for their dedication and hard work to bring this event in shape. Now, let me tell you something about our company, AI Core Spot. It was founded over 3 years back and created to serve as a knowledge hub, focusing on different emerging technologies, which is AI, ML, IoT, robotics, and much more. Our webinars aim to share the latest technological advancements in different industries. We dive into various tech sectors, unveiling a fresh theme every month and steadily gaining momentum. Our goal is to become the leading AI-driven community worldwide, where individuals like you with similar interests can contribute to our mutual growth and success. We are committed to organizing industry-backed webinars, hybrid events, face-to-face events, and grounding our knowledge through credible data through our esteemed industry leaders, subject matter experts, trusted partners, thought leaders, and great partners like InfoVision and Digit7. Additionally, we fine-tune our content across various digital platforms, which includes podcasts, videos, blogs, newsletters, and we shed light on ever-evolving industry every time. Now, coming about today's webinar, as I said in the beginning, a really exciting topic is up for today, which is next-gen banking, exploring the frontiers of personalized AI experience. Our speakers will discuss in this webinar the best practices, the guidelines, personalized experience, Gen AI, fraud prevention, and lot many, which is going around in the banking and financial industry. Our expert panel will share valuable insights and engage in thought-provoking discussions which you don't want to miss. Now, let's kick off the discussion with some quick highlights. Meet our community partners for today. We have 3 great companies, which includes Flutterwave, InfoVision, and Petalco Credit Union, who played a crucial role in making this webinar a success. So a big thanks to all our attendees. Your time and presence means a lot to us. We appreciate you being here to achieve your goal and connect with fellow participants. Our platform's main goal is to help you gain valuable insights and build meaningful relationships. So if you leave with a few innovative ideas or build new connections, we'll consider it a job well done. Now let me introduce our esteemed speakers for today. Our first speaker is Ashish Agrawal, who is Head of Data Analytics and AI at Flutterwave. Our second speaker is Venki Annadurai, who is Vice President of Technology, Engineering and Development at Petalco Credit Union. And third speaker and moderator for the event is Yuvraj Mohan, who is AVP BFS at InfoVision. Just one liner disclaimer before we start. The views shared by the speakers are their personal ones, and it's not related to any organization which they represent for. So now over to you, Yuvraj, to begin this exciting panel discussion.
Thank you, Nitin. Hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yeah.
Good morning and good evening, and wherever you guys are. I already seeing some thumbs ups from the attendees, so I'm audible. Wherever the time zones, thanks a lot for taking time to join us. Like Nitin said, generative AI, is a key topic, especially on the personalized banking experience side of it. We have 2 great speakers, like he said, Ashish and Venki, and I'll also share my views as appropriate. So we all know, right, generative AI is already making waves in the banking industry, especially transforming the way that the financial institutions operate traditionally, right? And we all know that it's not something new, and it's already revolutionizing the banking industry. Since the financial institutions, they already use the technologies to supercharge some of the customer-facing chatbots, prevent fraud, automation, and so on. So, right, there are a bunch of things involved and evolving today from a traditional way of operating towards the next level, right? it can be incredibly powerful, right? We keep hearing this topic all over, whether web, social media, wherever, and on your work and from your SMEs, from your colleagues. It's incredibly powerful in creating a better customer experience. And we all know that the banking industry is more like a, compliance regulatory is heavy compared to other industries. So while also prioritizing the security of the banking customers, still it can be incredibly powerful in bringing in the better customer experience, right? I know we can talk all day, but we have 45 minutes to 1 hour. Feel free to raise if you have any questions on the chat window. We will take those questions. But we are going to focus, from Ashish's view and Venki's view to see like there are some of the topics that we are going to deep dive. And like Nitin said, these are all like point of views and a mind share, nothing confidential or anything proprietary where they are working today. So treat this as a knowledge sharing session where if you guys have any questions in the current trend in the future, feel free to ask those questions. So with that said, maybe I'll start with Ashish, and then we'll follow with Venki with the topics that we are going to cover. So Ashish, what are some of the best practices and guidelines for the responsible of using this generative AI in this industry?
Thank you, Raj, for the question. And also, greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for joining me today in this very interesting conversation. Generative AI is right here, and there's a lot of talk about it. And I think this is a really crucial topic to begin this conversation with, which is best practices, guidelines. And I would stress that as important as this topic is, it could pretty much take up the hour. So let's kind of focus in on certain salient points that I would like to share with you. First and foremost, having clear guidelines, policies that are well documented and understood is key. And these policies around legal, ethical, and industry standards before even putting anything live is essential because the downside is really, really bad. So as just suggestions, I would say when you're talking about different regulations that exist across the globe and also internally within individual countries like US, think about picking the highest bar that makes it easy and convenient to apply versus trying to go with the minimum, which sometimes can be the tendency or the temptation, and slipping up. Similarly, ethical areas are key because while regulation doesn't enforce it, it is an important ingredient in maintaining and sustaining trust with our customers and our employees. So those areas are very important. I want to start there. Then moving on to risk management, because on an ongoing basis, there will be changes, there will be companies getting attacked by bad actors. So how do we understand where is that AI or where is that Gen AI model situated? What is it doing? What are the potential risks and what might be some mitigations that we need to be clear about? And then operationally monitoring, auditing areas where there could be leakage, privacy access, or data exposure. Now, to make all of that happen, education and training of the people is an important ingredient in what goes in. So a culture of learning, culture of collaboration, experimentation, those would be a few things I would highlight to your question.
Thanks, Ashish. Venki, would you like to add anything on this?
I think Ashish covered pretty, basic about the guidelines to the community. That's where,
nice.
Each and every financial institution or the engineers are learning on how to implement these solutions.
Very nice, very nice. So maybe you can extend to your thoughts, right? How efficiently, the personalized marketing to the customers, right? How efficiently it is offered. Maybe you can go deeper on the personalized experience to the customer.
Definitely. Thanks, Ashish. And I'm Venki, VP for Engineering at Patel Credit Union. So I'll touch a little bit about how the personalized service can be provided to the banking customers. So if you look at the standard way of offering or following up with our customers it's not going to be, super helpful, right? If you already have like multiple cars and then, having a home. And again, if the financial institution sending offer to have like an auto loan, nobody's going to, look for it. You need to be more creative, understand, know your customer first before even, you start offering. That is more we'll be calling it as like a personalized experience to the member. So generative AI, we are living in a space. There's so much happening in Gen AI space. Everybody is learning. Every financial institution is trying to get into the Gen AI to provide a value add to their customers. So when I look at generative AI in banking, it drives hyper personalization by analyzing the vast amount of data of real time. Also, there is like tons of transaction history, and then the browser history, like what are the things that the customers are doing, like are they trying to shop around the credit cards, or looking at best CD rates, or looking at any of the home equity. So much preference, personal preference data or browsing data that is being out in the internet, where that data can be used. And also the personal preference, right? If somebody is living in Bay Area and they are looking at to buy some house in out of state, or trying to move to the different state, so there are like, a lot of personal preferences information can be obtained. By having all this data, the Gen AI model can be used to build very personalized and tailored experience. For example, analyzing their transaction data, and you can clearly say that this is where their spending habit is. They're going to the the restaurants, and what kind of restaurants, and are they going towards the fast food, etc. All this, the data can be analyzed and give the personalized experience to the customers. According to the Forrester study, the banks who is implementing this hyper personalization, which triples their ability to cross sell the products. So you go with the personalized experience to the member, and you can able to cross sell very good product of offering the CDs or money market, or with a credit card or any personal lending loans. So these personalizations available when the customers either they log into their online banking, because most of the banks started having the data available in all the channels, which includes their online banking or the mobile banking. Because if we look at the Gen Z, most of them using their mobile app as their personal assistant. So they use that to log in and then look at their banking statement, etc. So in that, the mobile banking, the personalized experience can be provided. And also if someone visiting the branch or to the contact center, so more and more data it's available, and the banks can build a model that can able to help to provide more personalized experience to our their customers.
No, well said, Venki. No second thought, right? Especially the predictive analytics can analyze the consumer's financial behavior to predict their future income, expenses, and set the financial goals. And many more things can be accomplished, right? Especially from a personalized experience standpoint. Ashish, would you like to add anything? If not, you can also very well share your thoughts how the Gen AI can reshape the personal banking experiences. Maybe extend it.
Yeah, I mean, in the era that we live in, data-driven insights are progressively transforming all industries, including banking, of course. So Gen AI offers a step function improvement in driving business growth, customer and employee satisfaction, and based on what both of you just said, right? So I would say the part that excites me the most is that first and foremost, it brings us back to a relationship first driven interaction with customers. So if you remember, like back in the day when it was all personal, then we migrated or transitioned to what you'll call as digital transformation with IVR based phones as well included. Somewhere along the way, we lost touch with the human, right? It was a machine talking to a person in a very robotic way. So people increasingly interacted with these voice prompts and systems. So now as Gen AI evolves, it's not quite there yet, but as it does, we get closer to human-like conversations. And that can then provide very customized guidance, educational explanations, even marketing messages. advisory recommendations, and so on, when they come across to an individual as a customer in a way that's tailored to their needs, I think that's the value proposition. Second is like we covered this, but I want to emphasize this even further by saying the personalization now can happen, but also happen at scale. Because this tailoring of the messaging has to scale to the number of customers that you deal with, interact with, vendors, partners, employees. And how do you scale that? That's where systems had been somewhat limited. Now you can, with the ability to build the right kind of models through the client preferences, and the outreach messages can be tailored to that. A third category I would say is the content generation. That is the huge value proposition of GenAI. Like that is basically it, right? I mean, you can generate this content much faster, much quicker. So as an example, companies spend a huge amounts of money towards marketing, right? And a good bit of it goes into the marketing campaigns, tailoring those messages and actual campaigns to the audience that they're trying to either attract or retain. Imagine having to do that at a much faster clip and be able to do that in a much more specific, tailored way for your markets, for your customers. That's a huge improvement. And many company banks, especially, we do a lot of document searching, synthesis, putting together materials for regulators, for even internal use. All of that becomes much faster. And from a developer standpoint, think about faster automated test generation. Those are major optimizations from a content generation point of view. And we'd be remiss to not even talk about fraud detection and prevention. That is always top of mind for banks, top of mind for most companies now. So the improvement that you can get through GenAI with the bigger, stronger models like generative adversarial networks or GANs, where you can come up with these competing models that improve our ability to challenge the current model and improve upon it, all within a safe domain and a safe space. Those are some examples where we can actually make a huge impact in the way we run the businesses today and get better with engaging with our customers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like you rightly touched, the personal and the human touch is missing. Definitely, all these combinations of the video synthesis, image synthesis, better language translation, and the speech generation can put together help, even empower the chatbots, right, to offer a much more personalized experience rather than just a machine talking to a human. And most of the time, the human gets irritated, right? Well said, Ashish. I think since you touched on the fraud, which is one of the key topic, fraud prevention, maybe I'll ask Venki if you can, share your insights. How typically the GenAI helps to find the fraudulent transactions and prevent the fraud, right? It's more reactive is not going to help any of us, especially in the banking industry, but more like a preventive analysis and the preventive detection would play a key role. Venki, your thoughts?
So since COVID, what we have seen is there is a fraud uptick in pretty much all the financial institutions or the e-commerce industry. So it's, the fraud guys are going well ahead of, any prevention tool that you put in place. They try to sneak in and try to take over account. So it's going up like a skyrocket. So all this, the happening in the fraud sides, the financial institutions are going in a different angle, how we can able to tackle this, right? Especially with the use of a GenAI. Because it's a GenAI, it's excellent in identifying the complex pattern and anomalies in extensive data set. It can recognize the shift in customers' behavior, transaction frequencies, the amount or the location where they try to access that differ from the norm, right? So all these factors it considers. The key strength of generative AI in fraud prevention is its adaptability. As it encounters a new type of fraud, the GenAI system updates its model to identify the patterns. This ensures that the bank's fraud detection capabilities improve continuously and stay ahead of the cybersecurity arms race. So this is where we see the big difference. Earlier, you put a control and then it just stops there. But in the new GenAI, the models, it's learning, right? If I take example, I'm accessing my online banking from my location. Tomorrow, if I'm traveling on a business to India, and it immediately knows that the access is coming from different location, I need to challenge them whether it's a real person or a fraud guy is taken over the account. So this is the one example. Like that, there are like a multiple example. I'll just touch three different, the models which is exist in the industry today, which really helping for the lot of financial institutions. First is the behavioral analytics, which basically, as I said, the location and how fast you do the typing, basically the fat finger, right? How fast you type and what's your behavior of the moment you log into your online banking or the mobile banking. Do you go to the deposits or you go to your transfer screen? Things like that. It understands your pattern and build a model about you. If fraud guys taken over your account, and when they try to do it, they may not able to mimic your behavior. So it can able to immediately detect that, okay, this is not the person Venki is logged in. Let me do the two-factor authentication, whatever the corrective actions that the financial institution has set up based on the model which gives the score. This is the one way of handling things as a behavioral analytics. The other model is voice biometrics. Most of the companies and the financial institutions started enabling voice biometric in their IVR system, which basically allows the customers to have a conversation, and it just do the understand your pattern of the speech, and it records the the information in, and also it builds a profile about you. Then the next time when you call the customer support, it asks a few questions. Most of the time it's out of the box questions. So it asks the question and try to recognize the pattern. If the pattern is good, then it straight away gives the confirmation to the agent saying that, hey, this is Yuvraj is calling, and I recognize his voice and it's perfect. It gives the message to the agent. Then the agent feels more confident that, okay, I'm talking to the right person, so let me start at the conversation. That's where more and more personalized conversation happens. But this the voice biometric model really helping a lot, especially in terms of the contact center space. The third model which I'm going to talk about is more on the identity verification, because what's happening is, if you look at the recent days, majority of the bigger companies, the last week the AT&T had a major data breach, which they had a breach about like a 73 million customer social security, and their personal information has been leaked out. Before that, there was a leak related to the loan depot, and early part of this year, I think there's a company called Sovos who had a bigger data breach, which breached more than like a half a 50 million plus customer information has been leaked out. With that, your data is already available in the dark web. So it's anyone in the the hackers, they can able to buy your information from the dark web, and they can able to create an account and try to open an account or do a transaction mimic as you, right? So to prevent this, a lot of the financial institutions started moving towards the identity verification, which basically does two things. One, verifying your picture ID, plus they are enforcing now with the ID has the barcode. Wanted to make sure they can able to read the barcode and also cross-validate the data exists in the front page of the ID and then the barcode. So that's additional check. Even if the fraudster mimic the ID, but he cannot able to mimic the barcode. So that's one way of preventing. On top of this collecting the ID, it also does the liveliness check. When the liveliness check happens, it's basically tries to capture like a 2 to 3 seconds of the video, not as a selfie picture. When the moment they capture the video, based on the phone, the camera capacity, it can able to go wide angle to capture most of the information which is surrounding of the fraud guy or the real customer, which clearly says that if he's a fraud guy, he might be having like a multiple cell phones in his desk, or he might be having like a multiple IDs exist. It looks at all the surrounding and determine whether this particular person is the real person or a fake or a fraud guy, or are they giving like a a screenshot, things like that. All these checks and are exist today, and it's slowly evolving. Not every financial institution adopted, but these models are available today for the financial institution to start leverage and prevent some of the frauds that's happening. So these three are really a key, the models, which is going to be help a lot in terms of the financial institution. So
Thanks, Venki. Thanks a lot for the detailed conversation. I think that clarifies most of the part. And I do see some questions already from the audiences, right? Maybe I'll take one more this topic, right? And then we can jump onto the questions. Maybe Ashish, if you can touch what is your concerns, right? And maybe one of the largest concern that you think that about generative AI in the banking space.
Right. So we went through a few examples that Venki took us through. But think about also some of the downsides of all these capabilities when they get in the hands of the wrong people. So recently, as you may have seen, that OpenAI introduced a voice generation model, right? That can generate new audio using someone's voice based on just a 15-second clip. You can see where this can go, right? So my biggest concern is around how do we stay prepared for eventualities? How do we bring human accountability back as a way to manage and control? So a few examples, like for the tendencies that we have is when some tool or a technology becomes available, people tend to over rely on it. And that's generally the source of a lot of trouble. So the banks particularly need to strike a balance between automation and human input that needs to be maintained. So critical decisions when being made around loan approvals, investment advice, ensure there is still human oversight, right? Because we can improve the speed of the underwriting process, the efficiency of the underwriting process. Yet at the same time, there has to be a person involved or a group of people involved to ensure there are no unintended consequences of the decisions coming out of the models. And kind of along the same lines is when we tend to put models in place, we have to ensure that we're checking back, right? It is not a set and forget kind of an approach that we could take, because if we do so, data changes, models get redundant or inefficient or incorrect, and if not managed in time, can lead to a lot more downstream consequences which are not favorable. So commonly used term, keeping human in the loop, I would rather say let's have the human actually orchestrate the loop, and to ensure that Gen AI is only being used, or AI for that matter, to augment decision making or augment any of the functions, but not entirely take over. Because as we know, and we should emphasize the fact that the implications are pretty strong. The biggest one being, tarnishing the brand, customer trust, and all of those things go. And at the same time, with the evolving regulatory environment we are in, because a lot of regulations still don't exist, and they're still being formed, we have to ensure we are keeping up with them to not get, sanctioned or have any violations, which can be also pretty tremendously harmful for any company. So those are a few thoughts from my side.
Thanks, Ashish. Maybe I'll go with the first question from Rebecca Smith. The question is, in what ways can banks leverage data encryption and advanced cybersecurity measures to protect customer privacy in an era of increased digital banking? And who wants to go ahead, Ashish?
Yeah, I can take this. And in fact, I think banks should already be doing that, and I'm sure they already are. So the question really is, how are they keeping up with the increased challenges, increased complexities that exist? And they're primarily driven through the plethora of data and the amount of data that we are generating, and especially in the unstructured realm. So Gen AI particularly offers a lot of value for companies to tap into unstructured data. So the question is very pertinent, because how are we applying encryption and in cybersecurity around that? And on the other side of it, how are we ensuring security for the models themselves? Because they themselves are prone to any misuse, be it people inside or people even outside. So if the protection has to get stronger and better and more comprehensive, And as the phrase is really, the companies have to go be right every single time, but the bad actors can be wrong, right only once, and that's it, right? Once they're in, and they can create a lot of damage. So it's about playing this game where you're ahead, keeping up with the progression changes, and it all starts with learning and education, because when we tend to slow down or not, invest in our people at companies, this is where the biggest challenges are. So we need to make sure that everybody's keeping up at all levels of the organization as to what it takes to secure and protect a company. And it is not a security team's responsibility alone. It's for the rest of the entire company to keep up with what's going on, and having very strong governance and security policies and programs that are actively managed, monitored, and audited. Rebecca, hopefully that answers your question. Happy to take anything further.
No, I already see some clapping symbols, so hope Rebecca is good with that.
I'll add a little bit towards the mindset of the technology engineers, right? So when they start do the coding, we are enforcing them how they can use the today. If you look at the industry, people already using the Copilot X to generate the code, right? So that code comes with the model what's been trained. What if there is a bad actor who already injected the malware into the code, and you exactly asking the same kind of a question, and it generates the code along with the malware? How do you prevent, right? So that is the key thing, how you can able to prevent those code getting into your repository. So do the scanning and making sure the developer reviews to ensure that there is no malware exist in the piece of code that is being generated by the GenAI. So code scanning is super important. Anything you get it from free, either you get it from Overstack or you get it from the GenAI Copilot X. So making sure you run the security check before even you insert the code into a repository. That's very, very important for duties for all the developers who is using the free code. So that's one. And second thing is enterprises all looking how they can able to secure this data encrypted at rest. That's very important. You have your firewall, you have your the securities in place and the hardware encryption in place. But even with the raw data, how you store as encrypted, especially the personalized data, right? Your social security, contact number, state ID, credit card number, etc. All this has to be stored in an encrypted format. That's the only way you can able to prevent some of these hackers getting into your network and try to steal the information. So that's my point of view in terms of more on the developer plus also on the security aspects, how they can able to protect the data.
Thanks, Vinky and Ashish. I think that clarifies, Rebecca. I do see a question from Mohit, and then Mohit also responded saying that it clarifies his question. But in benefit of the audiences who joined later, I just wanted to ask the question. Maybe one of you can quickly summarize on that, right? So what are specific avenues GenAI opens up beyond the traditional AI? A lot of these personalizations are based on user data. And if you have that, most of these you shall be able to do with traditional AI predictive analysis. So that's a question.
Right. I mean, when we talk about traditional AI, I'm going to make an assumption, and that is we are talking about your statistical models of the day, right? Your GB boosts and a variety of regression models that exist and so on. So we are trying to compare and contrast those classical, let's call it classical AI against generative AI. I think fundamentally how I see the difference is that we don't have a great degree of training getting involved in it necessarily upfront with the training data. Of course, that's a huge part of it. Yet the neural networks come with the Gen AI that are more adaptive. There is a downside to it. They take a lot of data to learn, and it does cost companies a lot of money. Yet at the same time, the opportunity in terms of what you can do with those models, content generation is the biggest part of it. That and the scale that they can enable, I think the huge value proposition. A few topics we have already covered. Yet at the same time, I see there's a lot more growth and potential here. That said, it is not that there is no room for classical AI models, because you definitely need them, and they need to be there for the functions and purposes that they're serving. It's just like saying, if you only have a tool called a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. We can't have that. It's another tool in our tool belt. It needs to be applied for the right kind of use cases which are pertinent. Because if you start comparing the two, they're both different in terms of pros and the cons. So it's a much more exhaustive conversation to be had. Yet we have to be, this is part of where companies and people need to be thoughtful about. When Gen AI comes, doesn't mean you abandon everything else and run for it, right? It's about finding another way to solve your current business problems with the best tool available. And is that tool Gen AI is the question to ask first.
Thanks, Ashish. There is another question from Rebecca. What role does customer trust play in adopting Gen AI for personalized banking? And how can banks address concerns about data protection?
Yeah, I mean, customer trust is everything, right? Data is the game of trust. And I think it needs to be thought through very deeply, in the sense that we talk about doing a lot of things, but what are we doing a lot of things with? It is the customer's data, more or less. Of course, companies, enterprises' data too, but it is in the service of a customer. So it needs to be absolutely clear that while we may hold the data, it is indeed actually customers' data who is ultimately the owner of it. So the idea of gaining consent, managing that through all the regulatory needs, plus, and underscored plus, by saying that also the ethical considerations around how are you using customers' data and for what purposes. And that is essential to maintain that balance. And when asked not to use, we should decline and have processes that enable for us to remove this data upon the direction of the customer. Of course, keeping within the legalities that are enforced on companies, but as such, having an ability for the customer to know that their data is being used only for purposes intended and only for purposes approved by them. Till that's established and still that's not already proven, it becomes extremely difficult to even earn the trust of customers. So it comes with education, understanding, and knowledge of how powerful these tools are, but having the humility to apply that knowledge for only intended purposes, for the sake and the benefit of the customer.
So I'll just add a little bit on top of that. That's why you see a lot of companies' website. You will see the consent about the details. We are going to use your data for our study and analysis. I think there's a 2-camera Yuvraj. So we use your data only for doing our own study and providing a personalized service rather than doing any marketing. That's the disclaimer is you started seeing coming up in many conversations or in the mail or from the company's website. There are a lot of regulatory concerns being put in place. If you take California has its own regulatory compliance. Anyone in resides in California can able to call any institution, say that, hey, remove my data from your company. They should be able to remove it from their system. So this process has to be incorporated into the models so that the customer data gets removed from the model and it doesn't give any of the personalized service to specific to that customer. So the trust is very important here, right? As a general public, they should trust that. Okay, the company says that they are using only to provide the personalized service. Yes, they can trust that one and move forward. There is a lot of downside and upside. Yeah, we are at the very beginning stage. It's going to take like the next 2 to 3 years to shape up to the next level.
Absolutely. Thanks, Venki. Maybe in interest of time, maybe we can jump on to, we spoke enough about the best practices and how this is shaping the banking industry. We also briefly touched on the fraud, how to detect, prevent the fraud as well. Maybe let's talk about, by having all this data, the historical data, how it helps to a customer to build a 360-degree view, right? I know initially we talked about some of the things, but if you can talk a little bit more about how to build a customer 360 view, which is better compared to the traditional way of doing it banking?
Yeah. So if you look at any financial institution, you have the data sits in many places, right? Your core banking system and your CRM system, and you look at their online banking or mobile banking platform, acquisition, servicing, or in your CCaaS solutions. You have the data sits in silo for many different avenues and many different systems. The only thing is, many financial institutions started building the data warehouse to bring all the data into the centralized place. That's one of the, kind of a good initiative to bring all the data into one place. Now, with Gen AI, it's much easier, right? You have the data sitting in one place and you have the models sitting on the other side. How well I can able to use this data to build, the patterns, right? What's my customer's net worth, right? And what's my customer's spending pattern? What is their, the transaction history looks like? All these can able to build using this, the customer data. So in a lot of ways, this helps. For example, if somebody is walking into the branch, the branch member might not know anything about, depositing the check or doing some transaction for a member. That's the traditional way. But with this customer 360 view available, and it's been exposed to their CRM system or their, the banking retail platform, they can able to have like a much more, useful conversation, right? They can touch more on a personalized. So this customer 360 is basically the backbone of building, this personalized experience. This is the base it's required in order to take it to the next level. So most of the, the financial institutions started investing money to at least start bringing all the data into one place. That's happening. I see that having a conversation with other my peer credit unions or in the financial institutions. So that's a good initiative that's been happening on the technical front, but a lot of them still more scared about, the policies and procedures, etc. All this to try to bring Gen AI.
Thanks, Venki. Ashish, would you like to add anything on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, customer 360 is obviously a very interesting topic, and I keep up with it quite a bit myself. But I always wonder, have we ever achieved 360? Because it's a game that you keep catching up on, because the data changes, behaviors of customers change, and their footprint changes. So it's an aspirational goal, in my opinion, frankly, yet at the same time, an extremely valuable way to understand customers. So I'll leave it at that. I know you have more questions to ask us, but it's a very interesting topic.
I certainly agree, right? It's a continuous journey. You cannot like say that, hey, this is a milestone we reached and this is the best, right? It is evolving, and a lot of things has to go in parallel as well. So maybe there is another question, but before I go to the question, Ashish, since you're there, tell about some of the ethical considerations, right, related to how to use this Gen AI, especially in the banking industry.
Yes, of course. So we touched on some of those points earlier. And essentially what it is that ethical considerations can be a little bit soft in the sense that people don't always know what is a measure of success. And in that, you end up kind of following the regulatory and the compliance requirements, thinking you're covering it all, but generally that isn't the case. So let me kind of highlight at this point things that can be done to include the ethical considerations. So using as examples, like we hear a lot about bias in our models, and are we treating our customers fairly? So as you can see, these are not actual numerical numbers you can say I achieved, right? I mean, these are the things you have to do right by your customers. So how do we do that? Proactively is the key. It's not something you can do afterwards, because once you fail, your trust is gone, your customers are gone, and maybe your future customers may not come back either, or come to you either. So how do you do that? I think the key is to do it enough in time before you deliver something or produce something. And that happens through diversity of the data that you're collecting, because that diversity informs the right kind of model decisions. And so keeping in mind that we are not, this is a very thoughtful way of training models, building models, and productionizing models to know that the training data sets are well representative of the population they aim to serve. And along the same lines, as you're working, implementing solutioning, having interdisciplinary collaboration to serve the needs and take the inputs of various stakeholders, and be it your data scientists or your domain experts, including even ethicists or people who will have a say or should have a say before you build something and roll something out. So that I would put in the bucket of bias, fairness, early management of it. And I'm sure there are more topics to cover in it, but I'll leave it to those two. And the second is just basic dilemmas around concerns such as privacy, autonomy, unintended consequences. You may have the best intentions to roll something out, but you just never know how some individual or a group of people will take it in the way you decided on something, right? I mean, for instance, like recently we had Wendy's come out with this dynamic pricing with obviously thought around how they could mimic how your ride-sharing companies do pricing with intentions to make money. But it didn't really go the best way for some of the people, and there was a lot of pushback. So how do you get ahead of those sorts of things, right? And it is not a very ethical necessarily area to cover, but there could be some people who take offense to how people are getting treated, right? So integrating these considerations once again in the design and development of the AI system, emphasizing principles upfront and considerations of what could go wrong and by whom early enough to address and maybe handle the communication better to inform those people so they don't take it the wrong way. And that also, therefore, is about engaging stakeholders better, faster, earlier, policymakers, advocacy groups, to gain their perspectives before putting something out in front of the public, right? Ethics committees companies they have review boards. So just managing those to the extent that you're ensuring inputs and compliance from those angles, that's a key part. And I want to emphasize early before you do something in terms of rollout, putting into production. And I'll tell you, I know I've been there, it sometimes feels like a very tedious task. It doesn't feel like the most exciting thing to do because we all want to play with models, build models, deploy models, see the results. But think again, right? The potential harm could actually take you the other direction. And so the easiest path, I want to say, or the safest path would be to integrate these measures into existing processes so they don't feel too foreign. They just become part of your process as of today, just improved and made better through certain early insights.
Yeah, let me take this question from Peter. How can the banking industry effectively utilize personalized user experiences and targeted marketing messages to increase adoption and usage of innovative financial products and services among customers?
Well, I mean, it's about testing and learning, right? And back to my point of engaging stakeholders, your customers are your stakeholders here. So involving them early to not say, I'm building a product, how do you like it? It's even goes further back than that, is listening to them as to how they're using your current products. What are some of the gaps and challenges that they're dealing with today? What are the problems that they're looking to solve from your solution, which may or may not be meeting the needs? Why are they thinking of the competition, right? If you start probing and introspecting along those lines in partnership with customers, that gives you deep insights into even framing the problem, and then go from there to even developing a product, right? So the personalization comes only when you're personalizing the solution for a customer. And it all begins with understanding the problem domain better and understanding the flavors of problem domains based on the customer segments you're serving, and then formulating solution, iterating on it with them. Companies, enterprise banks particularly, also have these labs. And I've been part of a few where we would actually go out and present to a segment of customers who have agreed to partner with us, show them, seek input, iterate, learn, apply, deploy, right? Is just that, right? Make them part of the process. and hopefully you'll get closer to the personalization you're seeking.
So I'll add a little bit, right, more on the the practical example what the financial institution sees by having the data. It's always on the two-way communication, right? It's not like you build a product and throw to the customer. Rather, hear from the customer and see what kind of the utilization that they do. Based on that, you do create a innovative product. For example, let's a very very simple example. Gen Z, most of them are trying to use their debit card for their transaction than the millennials and the Gen X and millennials always use the credit card, whereas in the Gen Z using the debit card. So that means like for the segment of Gen Z, you probably have to build a product that you can give more intensive for using the debit card. So this is like two-way communication, right? You hear from the member or the customer, and then you build the personalized product for them. So
Thank you both. I think one of the important topic, I know I'm going to ask both of you, while Gen AI is speaking a lot, now the question is, hey, will I lose my job, right? Being an individual or being a customer service agent, because everybody talks about Gen AI efficiency and so many good things we spoke about it. But how does it matter while we empower that and bring in more human touch? What is the impact, right? So maybe I'm going to start with Venki, with you, right? Especially on the customer support agents part. What is your view on it? Whether it's immediate, mid, and long term, how it is going to look like, and then followed by Ashish, you can talk about the overall workforce management, right? How it is impacting.
So I just touched a little bit on the virtual agent, right? So the most of the people question is, oh, when the AI bot come into the picture, will I lose my job? Definitely not, at the extent what the people think, but the role will be changing, right? So that's how the industry is moving towards. So I'll touch a little bit about how the virtual agents are serving much better compared to the traditional FAQ bot or traditional bot what you have. In the market last year or so. So traditional bot, usually you need to feed a lot of information, doesn't have any intelligence. You ask a question, if there is any spelling mistake, when the customer types, it is saying, oh, I don't know the answer, let me route you to the agent. So that's how it is. But the things are changing with the Gen AI model, which learns, okay, this is what the intent is, based on that I will reply back, right? So that's how the things are changing. So it's the generative AI can be used to create advanced client-facing personal assistants and providing the account management, transaction inquiries, product recommendation, and financial advice. It's tailored to the individual's financial goal and needs. So all you need is to build a model, know about your customer, and then provide the services. Unlike traditional bots or human assistants, these bots are immediately consider all relevant information. If you add, for example, if you add a joint owner in your account, it immediately knows, okay, there is another person added. We need to, model it such a way that it's not the individual customer. It's now become like a more on the joint account. So earlier, if you look at the process, it takes ever to bring this kind of a variance into the customer's profile. This is one, and I'll just give you a touch on a little bit more on one of the the fintech who provides the buy now and pay later services. This company has like a more than 150 million customers, and they do process more than 2 million transactions on a given day, and the company has like more than 5,000 employees. They implemented this AI assist in their customer service process. This AI assist's now handling all the queries ranging from their refund or return, payment related issues, cancellation, disputes, resolving the invoice inaccuracies, or any question related to the invoice, etc. It provides a real-time update to the outstanding balance or the payment schedules or advice to the customers on their spending limit, etc. So this is basically serves in multiple languages. Earlier case, if you look at the language is another biggest problem. This company has implemented almost like a 35 languages, and these bots are available like a 24/7 to help their the customers. According to the company, what they say is it's handled like close to 2.3 million conversations, and two-thirds of its overall customer service chat. And now doing it's what they say is like it's doing like a job of like a 700 agents. That means like it's not like a 700 people losing their job. It's basically they do take care of the complex and mid-range the queries rather than handling like a simple questions. when you look at the the angle of technical side, this is all like a doable, right? All you need is to have like a build a model and have the real time connectivity to your backend systems for understanding any change in the data. So that helps a lot in terms of having like a much stronger virtual agent who helps to serve more and more to the members rather than escalating a lot of things, a lot of queries into the live agents. So this is really helping a lot. So I see like more and more adoption coming in this space. Hope to see it's more personalized touch. Even though it's a human, they the member will be feeling like it's a personalized experience, and taking them to the right the team for the resolution. So some cases, right, when we look at these agents, by looking at the customer data. So let's take an example. If now it's a macroeconomic condition, and there are like one segment of people are impacted with the job loss, etc. So in case if their data shows that he is late with his credit card payments, the virtual assistant immediately know, yeah, I know that he is late in the the payment. Let me see what are the things that I can able to offer to him in case if the company built the customized product. Hey, if you pay your payment, we will give you like $100 off something. It's, I'm just throwing an idea, right? So if we have something like kind of a product built, it provides that kind of a personalized experience to the customer, and he feels happy. Okay, I'm late and it knows about me and it's offering, okay, let me talk to their agent to fulfill the process. So this is where it's keep going, and you will see a lot and lot coming from the financial institution in the upcoming days.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, go
expanding
ahead.
on to the overall workforce side, I would say, yeah, I mean, job loss is a natural concern. Yet, I believe that the real threat to workers isn't necessarily Gen AI, but it is people with proficiency in the use of Gen AI tools who will displace those who aren't, right? So it's about what tool do you know and how effectively can you use, effectively determines if you are ready for the next phase of the work market or the labor market. So that's a clarification point in my head, at least I wanted to share. Second is we have to expect that given the capabilities of the product, Gen AI is undoubtedly going to create occupational shifts, right? Meaning people will move from a set of jobs to another set of jobs or different kinds of jobs. So basic things like repetitive process computational needs and such can easily be facilitated by Gen AI or overall AI models. And we saw this sort of a shift get hastened for digital experiences during the pandemic, right? Many businesses that were slow to adopt digital or were thinking about it in a later time, all of a sudden were forced in the digital era. So we are going to continue to see the acceleration of the trend through these tools. And as the occupations kind of shrink and move towards more of the kind where we'll have a lot more automation enablement through Gen AI or AI, then it will re-weight the higher rate jobs. So you can see what gets paid more now, shift over to areas where these tools are making or creating more value. And the best part is they also help you improve the productivity of these highly skilled workers. So you'll have that real strong combo effect of improving the quality of output under the assumption we got the ethical and the considerations all taken care of, like we discussed. But what gets me most excited is the change that will happen in how we understand work to be, right? As human beings, what is exciting in general to people is, can I explore this area, the idea of curiosity, of new product development? How can I better serve a customer? And the idea around dreaming up an idea and quickly getting to test it can all be sped up through these products, so we can go to and narrow down the areas that actually will add value for a company, right? So refining what work is and not toiling through some of the repetitive things are enabled through products like Gen AI or the solutions we'll start seeing. And then that will help us realize the true meaning of work. I think it gets closer to that. What does that now mean to employers, right? A couple of things to highlight. One would be basically focusing on workforce development at a much larger scale. Yeah, as much as we want us to deliver, we need to make sure we have the people who understand how to use these products and how to use them responsibly to get to where we want to go. So training and the growth of people and the pace at which innovation is happening, maintaining the pace of training with it. And number two, and this is what's discussing, and it's another big topic in itself, is how do we improve upon our hiring practices, right? Our typical practice is going out and looking for a plethora of skills, putting that on a job description and saying, do I have this before I hire somebody? How about we also think about prioritizing those credentials and look for competency or the ability to learn as another key ingredient in what goes into a job selection process or a candidate process, selection process. Because if what we are using today is all we are looking for in an individual, all of those things are going to change very quickly because it's a highly dynamic space we are living in. So ensuring we are hiring the people who can learn, have the propensity to learn, retain, practice, and continue that journey, I would say is a very important aspect to include as we look to recruit.
Well said, both Ashish and Venki. I know that's a sensitive topic, which most of the people are worried. But on the positive side, like you both said, it's more about your career upliftment, right? So just improve yourself, and there are opportunities where the mid to complex things certainly humans has to handle it, right? It takes while it takes the low end activities, but still there is a good collaborative effort we can put together and see how we can achieve more efficiency at the same time, on the advancements we can consider. I think that puts to a last question for me, right? Maybe to Venki for you, and Ashish, feel free to add to the topic. How the customers, I know we touched about the CSAs, but also how the CSAs, while the shift is happening on the low end, how they can solve the mid to complex problems leveraging the Gen AI. And then there is one more question from Mohit. Then we can wrap up the session. Yeah, go ahead, Venki.
Sure. Yeah. So when the virtual assistant taking place on the front seat, it's basically does the basic interaction with the customers. That means like the agents who's in place today on the front line will be pushed to the next level to solve the medium to complex problems. So that's the trend we started seeing. Whoever is started adapting towards the AI assist in their front line. So that means like, the humans needs to get more training. Some people are not ready to do the training. That's where this Gen AI come into the picture of how they can able to help, how the Gen AI can able to help these humans to solve the mid to complex problems. So for example, if you take a look at the knowledge base, what the company has put together, or the FAQs, or some complex problems that is being tracked in the ticketing system, the models can able to look at these systems, and when the customer talking, or when the bot is listening what the customer's concerns are, it starts giving the intent to the agents, right? The humans get the intent from the AI about, hey, this particular problem has been solved so and so date with this, but this is what the resolution is, these are the steps that you need to do to mitigate this particular complaint. So that's kind of, it's assisting the human while they are trying to identify what is the solution. In traditional way, if you look at, if there is a complex problem hidden with the customer support frontline, they usually, the ticket goes to the multiple teams behind the scene, which not the member will not know, but the member will have the frustration. Oh, I talked to them and it taking like a 7 days, still there is not much response. We don't know what's happening, things like that. Those kind of frustrations, you have seen it in the past. But nowadays with this, the AI, the model what has the knowledge base and having interaction with the different system, the agents can able to solve the mid to complex problem while the customer is in the call. Very rarely we see that it's get escalated to back office team, and most of them get resolved within the call conversation, which goes anywhere from few minutes to the 30 minutes or so. So this kind of the prompt is exist even in in the contact center world today, or in the the virtual branch, and also it's available in the bank teller space, where the customer support agents or the tellers providing the personalized experience. So really the lot of compliment coming from this knowledge base. Again, we touched what do you train to these bots, right? If you start feed the bad data, you will not have the good customer experience with your members. You will start see hey, what you are talking about, you are just completely talking about incorrect information as what I need, right? So feed the right data, and that is going to help a lot for this for the agents to solve mid and complex problems.
Thank you. I'll take one last question. This is from Mohit. What tools like Google Analytics are being used to bring data for Customer 360?
I can start us off, and I'd say that Google Analytics is a fine tool, and I'm sure there are multiple other products. So I wouldn't necessarily, talk about a tool. I would state really the perspective I hold on what problem are you looking to solve, which is when we say we want to build a customer 360. Where enterprises sometimes forget to focus is they don't take a holistic view as to the purpose. And typically it's a focus more on marketing when you think about, oh, let me go get product A, product B, or product C, and there's a variety of Google Analytics, Salesforce, and a whole bunch of CDPs that exist in the market. Absolutely, they can serve a purpose for that company, for that time, and for that need. But where the industry is moving is we need to serve the customers holistically. No matter what function you're performing, it cannot just start and end at marketing, right? It has to start perhaps there, but it can also lead into how you're engaging with them on a digital channel. Then further along, as Venki was pointing out, as well as in his examples, how you're interacting with them in an agent engagement. And then along the way, understanding the behaviors of those customers to develop better products on our side. How are our actual operational efficiencies along those products? It all centers around the customer, right? And that's a customer-centric organization. So you can't have your customer 360 sit in a corner. It actually needs to sit right in the middle of the enterprise's data infrastructure to drive decisions about the customers or decisions associated with the customer consistently across the company, for no matter what problem you're solving. So back to solutioning, I would tend to say that we need to build a 360 solution, which is not one product, but a combination of. So in terms of, do you have a warehouse? Do you have an MDM about a customer? Do you have a real-time engagement channel that's driving the machine learning models? Are they all talking to each other using the same data and serving a business need called Customer 360? It's a great topic to discuss, but just sharing with you a high-level perspective of my take on how I handle 360. Venki, if you want to go next.
I think pretty much you covered, Ashish.
Great. I think thanks for both sharing your insights, and I'm sure we would have maximized the time what we had. Again, audiences, if you have more questions which you think that we need to, you need some clarity, please feel free to send it to this group. We'll coordinate offline with Ashish and Venki and get their insights on that. Thanks a lot. I hope this session was very helpful, more insightful. With that said, over to you, Nitin.
Thank you, Yuvraj, and thank you, Ashish, thank you, Venki, and thank you, Arvind and Archana, for making it a great one. I'm sure our audience liked this webinar. So just to extend my gratitude to all the speakers who came together and brought this event to such a high level of knowledge discussion. And thanks to you, Raj, for moderating this amazing panel discussion. As we wrap up this conversation, I'd like to moment to recognize and thank our community partners, all our attendees, especially who came and attended this event. We thank for their ongoing support and participation over the past 3 years. Your involvement has played a crucial role in creating an environment conducive to knowledge sharing and enrichment. Today, the insights shared by all our panel members were truly exceptional, and we appreciate their collaborative effort and expertise to come. For those who have missed any part of today's session or wish to revisit it, the recording will be available on our company's YouTube page for your convenience. Looking ahead, we are excited about the promising technological advancements that lie ahead in the coming months. At AI CoreSpot, we have a diverse lineup of events planned across various sectors, which includes the banking, financial, and insurance industry, which includes telecom, it includes retail, supply chain, manufacturing, healthcare, and there are a lot more in store for all of you. We encourage you to stay connected with us for ongoing learning opportunities and updates on the latest technological developments. You can find a wealth of knowledge, including about event announcements, registration assistance. All the things are on our website and social media channels. Your support is invaluable to us, so please consider liking and sharing our content with your networks. A special mention to InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology partner, for their unwavering support and collaboration. Be sure to explore their websites to dive deeper into the world of technological advancements. As a company, AI CoreSpot, we thoroughly enjoyed hosting this session and hope you found it as enriching as we did. We look forward to continuing our journey together and bringing you more insightful sessions in the future. Until then, take care. Thank you once again for your participation and support. Have a great day and nice weekend ahead. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you all.